Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. When you think about the Washington Commanders this season, the first word that comes to mind is frustration. A team that started the year with hope, with buzz, with a sense that maybe, just maybe, this was the year they'd finally turn the corner, has been battered, bruised, and beaten down by the cruelest opponent of all, the injury bug. It's been relentless. Every time fans began to dream, every time they saw flashes of brilliance, the football gods seemed to snatch it away. But just when the darkness seemed permanent, just when optimism was all but extinguished, there came a spark, a jolt, a pulse of life. And that spark came in the form of two familiar names that Commanders fans have been desperate to hear: Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel Sr. Now, Dan Quinn didn't exactly walk into his Monday presser grinning ear to ear. The Commanders' head coach has been through this too many times to make grand promises. But his words still carried weight, and a whole lot of intrigue. Terry and Deebo are both practicing this week, he said. Simple, short, and cautious. But for a fan base that's been living in the trenches of despair, those words hit like fireworks. Suddenly, there was noise. There was chatter. There was hope. The possibility that two of Washington's biggest offensive weapons could be back in the mix heading into Week 8. A primetime clash against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football felt like a plot twist straight out of a Hollywood script. Of course, no one's buying tickets to the happy ending just yet. Washington fans have heard this story before, especially when it comes to McLaurin. The beloved wideout has been a ghost for most of the season, and not by choice. First came the contract standoff that stretched through the summer, then the nagging lower body issues that kept him out for 4 straight games. Every week there'd be whispers. He might practice, he might go through walkthroughs, he might test it out, and every week, disappointment followed. So you can forgive fans for being skeptical. They've lived this déjà vu nightmare already. And then there's Deebo Samuel Sr., the other half of the offensive puzzle that Washington hasn't been able to solve. Deebo's toughness is legendary. He's the kind of guy who could probably play through a hurricane if you let him. But even he couldn't shake off the lingering heel issue that finally forced the Commanders' medical staff to sit him down. They had to protect him from himself. And when he sat, the offense sagged. The life, the spark, the swagger, gone. The loss to the Dallas Cowboys last week wasn't just another L in the standings. It was a gut punch. Without Deebo, Washington looked like a team missing its heartbeat. So when both players showed up at Thursday's practice, helmets on, pads strapped, running drills with their teammates, it was more than just a photo op moment. It was symbolic. It was the first real sign that maybe the clouds were parting. McLaurin looked sharp in warm-ups, moving with purpose, laughing with teammates. Samuel, meanwhile, looked focused, determined, like a man on a mission to remind the league exactly who he is. These aren't just players coming back. These are leaders. These are tone setters. The kind of guys who make everyone around them better simply by being on the field. For Marcus Mariota, the man under center this week, this news couldn't have come at a better time. The veteran quarterback is steady, experienced, and smart, but he's not a magician. He needs weapons. He needs rhythm. He needs trust. And with McLaurin and Samuel healthy and active, suddenly that offense looks a whole lot more dangerous. Early in the season, before the injuries started piling up, there were glimpses of what this trio could do together. Quick slants that turned into big gains. Seam routes that kept defenses honest. Double moves that forced safeties to backpedal in fear. It wasn't perfect, but it was electric. It was potential realized, even if only for flashes. And that's why their return means so much. Because this team isn't as bad as its record says. Sitting at 3-4, it's easy for outsiders to write them off. To say, yeah, that's another middling Washington team, nothing new. But those who have been watching closely know that the margins have been razor thin. One bad bounce here, one missed tackle there, and this team could easily be sitting at 5-2 instead. And now, as they prepare to face the red-hot Kansas City Chiefs on the biggest stage football offers outside of the playoffs, the Commanders are getting their biggest boost of the season. Now, let's be clear, beating the Chiefs is no small task. Kansas City is a machine. Patrick Mahomes is playing like a man possessed. Travis Kelce remains the ultimate mismatch nightmare, and the Chiefs' defense, quietly one of the best units in football this year, has been suffocating opponents. Add to that the recent return of wide receiver Rashee Rice from suspension, and you've got a team that's firing on all cylinders. But what Washington brings to the table this Monday night isn't just talent, it's desperation. It's fight. It's a locker room that's tired of moral victories and ready to punch back. Joe Witt Jr.'s defense has been inconsistent, no question. There have been flashes of brilliance, moments where the pass rush looked unstoppable, where the secondary actually held its ground. But those moments have been drowned out by lapses, blown coverages, missed tackles. If they want any shot at slowing Mahomes down, it starts with discipline. But make no mistake, the emotional lift of getting McLaurin and Samuel back could make all the difference. Football isn't just about X's and O's. It's about energy. It's about belief. And for the first time in weeks, belief seems to be creeping back into Ashburn. Inside the facility, you could feel it, a quiet buzz. Players laughing more. Coaches smiling just a little wider. Reporters sensing that the tide might, just might, be turning. For weeks, this team has been defined by what it didn't have, by the injuries, the absences, the setbacks. Now it's defined by what it's getting back. The return of McLaurin and Samuel isn't just about yards and catches. It's about identity. It's about restoring the swagger, the rhythm, the heartbeat of this offense. Dan Quinn knows better than anyone that he can't rush them. He's been around long enough to know that optimism can crumble fast if you push too hard, too soon. He's preaching patience, caution, and honesty. If they're not 100%, they won't play. Plain and simple. But right now, everything seems to be trending in the right direction. The coaches like what they see. The players like how they feel. And the fans? Well, they're daring to believe again. The Commanders' season isn't over, not by a long shot. A win on Monday night would change everything. It would silence the critics, energize the fan base, and turn a 3-4 record into a statement that Washington isn't going quietly into the night. And if McLaurin and Samuel are on the field, making plays, pumping their fists, celebrating touchdowns under the bright lights of Arrowhead, it'll be the kind of football redemption story that only the NFL can script. So here we are, a team written off by most, battered by injuries, mocked by pundits, now standing at the edge of a potential turning point. The Commanders have been searching for something to believe in, something to rally around. And as Terry McLaurin jogs back into formation, as Deebo Samuel Sr. lines up out wide, as Marcus Mariota takes that first snap under the roar of the Kansas City crowd, maybe, just maybe, this is where everything changes. Maybe this is where the narrative flips. Because sometimes, in this game, all it takes is one night, one spark, one comeback to remind the world that hope never really dies. It just waits for the right moment to return. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Man, you wouldn't believe what went down at Washington Commanders practice this week. We're talking chaos, shouting, teammates getting in each other's faces, the kind of drama that usually stays behind closed doors in the locker room. But this time, it spilled out onto the field in front of players, staff, and a few wide-eyed reporters who couldn't believe what they were seeing. At the center of it all, Tyler BIADASZ. Yeah, the same Tyler BIADASZ who's known for being that tough, gritty Wisconsin guy, blue-collar work ethic, head-down, lunch-pail type of player. Well, apparently, something snapped. The usually composed center completely lost it during a team drill, yelling at a teammate in a way that had everyone frozen for a moment. The words that came out of his mouth were raw and real. I'm not protecting anyone who doesn't respect this team. Now, for those who know BIADASZ, that's not something he says lightly. This is a guy who's all about team culture, all about putting in the work and earning your place. He's not flashy, he's not the type to make a scene, so when he explodes like that, you know something's been brewing beneath the surface for a while. From what people around the team are whispering, there's been tension on the offensive line for weeks. Frustration with certain players not giving full effort, taking plays off, or maybe just not buying into the new offensive identity the Commanders are trying to build under the new coaching staff. It's one thing to have personality clashes, but when your starting center, the guy responsible for keeping the line in sync, publicly calls someone out in front of everyone, that's serious. That's leadership on fire. Apparently, the blow-up happened during a protection drill. The offense was running a simulated blitz pickup, and BIADASZ was calling the protections. One of the guards, whose name the team is keeping quiet for now, apparently missed his assignment again and left the quarterback exposed. You could see BIADAS's reaction instantly. He threw his hands up, turned to the guy, and just unleashed. Players say he ripped off his helmet, got right in the dude's face, and yelled something along the lines of, "You think this is a game? You don't care if the QB gets hit? Not on my line, man. Not on my damn line." Coaches had to step in before it got physical, and for a few tense seconds, it looked like punches might fly. When practice ended, BIADAS reportedly stormed off the field, still fuming. Reporters tried to ask him what happened, but he brushed them off, saying, "I said what I said. That's it." No PR spin, no carefully worded response. Just pure frustration from a guy who clearly feels like his teammates aren't matching his intensity. And honestly, can you blame him? This is a Commanders team trying to redefine itself after years of inconsistency. The new ownership wants accountability, the coaching staff wants culture, and guys like BIADAS are supposed to be the anchor, the veterans who set the tone. When those veterans start calling people out, that's when you know there's a deeper problem inside. People inside the organization are divided on what to make of it. Some say it's exactly what the team needed, a wake-up call. Others think BIADAS went too far, that you can't lose your cool in practice, especially when you're one of the locker room leaders. But honestly, sometimes leadership isn't clean. It's messy. It's emotional. It's raw. And if you're a lineman who feels like your quarterback's getting hit because someone won't put in the work, maybe a little fire is exactly what's needed. What's fascinating, though, is that BIADAS quote, "I'm not protecting anyone who doesn't respect the team," has now become this rallying cry on social media. Fans are eating it up. They're tweeting things like, "That's the mentality we've been missing," and BIADAS just became the heartbeat of the O-line. It's wild how quickly a moment of anger can turn into a symbol of accountability. What's really fueling the buzz is how out of character this seemed for BIADAS. At Wisconsin, he was known for his calm presence and consistency. He literally won the Remington Trophy as the best center in college football because of his discipline and technique. Even in Dallas, before he joined Washington, you rarely heard about him losing his temper. He was that reliable guy, steady and focused. So for him to reach this breaking point, that tells you there's something deeper going on behind the scenes. Maybe it's frustration with how the offense has been performing, or maybe it's about effort and respect in the locker room. Either way, this wasn't just a random outburst. It felt personal. And you can bet the Commanders' coaching staff is walking a tightrope right now. On one hand, they can't have players blowing up on the practice field. It sends the wrong message. But on the other hand, they might secretly appreciate the passion. Coaches love to see players holding each other accountable, especially veterans. The issue is whether that accountability crosses into disrespect or divisiveness. From the outside, it's hard to know which side of that line BIADAS landed on. But if you listen to some of the whispers around the locker room, a few teammates actually nodded in agreement after the incident. One source reportedly said, "He just said what everyone was thinking." That's powerful. That means the tension wasn't just his, it was shared. What makes this story even juicier is how it fits into the bigger picture. Washington's offensive line has been under scrutiny all season. There have been breakdowns, miscommunications, and too many hits on the quarterback. The fans have been vocal about it. The media's been hammering it. And now, apparently, the players themselves are fed up. You could argue that BIADAS' explosion wasn't just about one play. It was about weeks, maybe months, of pent-up frustration. He's tired of seeing the same mistakes, tired of watching his team suffer because of lack of effort or focus. And when you're the guy snapping the ball, the one who literally starts every offensive play, you feel every bit of that pressure. Some insiders are even suggesting that this moment could be a turning point for the Commanders. A wake-up call that either unites the locker room or exposes deeper cracks. It's not unusual for teams to have these emotional flare-ups mid-season. Sometimes, that's what it takes to light a fire under everyone. The real question is how they respond. Does the team rally behind BIADAS and start playing with more urgency? Or does the tension linger and start to divide the locker room? Because in football, chemistry matters. If the guys blocking up front aren't on the same page, everything falls apart. Another layer to this whole thing is how BIADAS leadership will be viewed moving forward. Will teammates see him as the guy who spoke truth to power, or will they think he crossed a line by calling someone out publicly? That fine balance between passion and professionalism is tricky. But honestly, This might just be who BIADASZ is becoming. A veteran who's done with excuses, done with losing, and willing to ruffle feathers if that's what it takes. Every great locker room has that one guy who doesn't care about being liked as long as the team wins. Maybe BIADASZ is that guy now. What's also interesting is that BIADASZ hasn't posted anything on social media since the incident. Not a tweet, not an Instagram story, nothing. Total silence. Which, of course, only fuels the speculation. Fans are reading into it, wondering if he's being told to stay quiet or if he's just letting his actions speak for themselves. Meanwhile, the Commanders' PR team is trying to downplay the story, calling it a normal moment of competitive intensity, but no one's buying that. Not when eyewitnesses describe it as a full-blown shouting match that nearly turned into a fight. You can tell this one's going to linger for a while. Reporters will keep asking about it. Players will keep giving those vague, "we're good" answers, and fans will keep dissecting every word BIADASZ said. But the truth is, sometimes these are the moments that define a season. Teams either come together or fall apart after something like this. And with the Commanders still trying to find their identity under a new regime, this could either be the start of a cultural reset or another example of how fragile their chemistry really is. Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure: Tyler BIADASZ just made sure everyone knows his standard. Protect the team, respect the grind, or don't expect him to protect you. And honestly, that's the kind of fire this franchise has been missing for years. You can feel the buzz around Washington now, that sense that something's shifting, whether it leads to chaos or cohesion. That outburst might just be the spark that defines the Commanders' season. Because when a guy like BIADASZ loses it, it's not just noise, it's a message. And every player in that locker room heard it loud and clear. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.